Hey everyone, this is Dr. Andy with AG Thrive, and I am here today to try and deliver something of what I believe is immense value, and this is kind of geared towards parents, but really it's probably relevant on a variety of levels and certainly for kids and teens. But what I want to talk about today is about what you can do to raise kids that are more likely to be happy, that are more likely to be successful, and what to focus on in order to do that. It was interesting. I was talking to a colleague the other day, and we were kind of talking about like what's the most important thing. If we had to boil it down, to really focus on, to create, the best outcomes in the work that we do. And in my opinion, it's really about character development. It's about focusing on like attitude, character. It's probably the biggest predictor of success and happiness in life. So in some of the ways that I think as parents that you can be very intentional in creating or crafting or shaping, right, kind of the character, the values, the attitudes of your kids, is one, to be super clear on what it is that you value, like what is the things that you want to espouse and teach. So making sure that you and your partner are on the same page, that you're intentional, you've like thought this out, right, and then you're creating opportunities to teach these values. And I think some of the most important ways to do this, in fact, probably the most important, let's start off with that, is that kids learn much more by what we do than what we say. So we want to be sure that if these are values that are very important to us, that we are living those values out, right? I love the idea, like with grit and kind of persistence, resilience, which is certainly, one of the values that I try and teach my kids, probably the number one, value that I teach them is the idea of resilience. And so I am very open with my kids about that I'm working consistently on goals, or I'm working on some type of skill set or something like that that's stretching me, right? That's hard, and how that I do that intentionally. And then I challenge them to, set goals or work on things that stretch them, and to have that discussion with them about, how they're being stretched, and about how I have a goal that I'm working on that's like difficult, but I keep persisting through it and it's really fulfilling. I think it's just a really, really valuable way to develop grit in your kids. I think beyond that, some of the other ways, like especially at a younger age, kids learn so much through the power of story, through narrative, right? And so teaching them through, and I think some of the ways to really use story to craft or shape kind of those values or characteristics, one of them is by sharing your family story. So like, the story of your parents and your grandparents, and not just sharing necessarily the highlights, the successes and things like that, but talking about, the different challenges they had to go through, giving them like a really healthy, balanced perspective of the family history, and about, some of the lessons they learned through those hardships, is an awesome way to both connect your children to kind of the family, legacy, but to also teach, really important values and characteristics. I think intentionally choosing stories to read your kids, both at a young age, and then being very aware of the stories that they're reading as they get a little bit older, whether those be stories that they're reading on social media, or whether it be stories that they're reading, as part of class assignments. But use that as an opportunity, right, to put material in front of them that, again, really emphasizes and focuses on the characteristics and values that you do. My kids, especially if it's my opportunity to choose the story for my kids, I'm always going to choose the books that focus on, kind of grit, resilience, persistence, things like that. I know sometimes they just love a good Fancy Nancy or some other story or something like that, Clifford. And even then, I'll probably change the narrative on those stories a little bit to emphasize hard work and effort and things like that. I think that's an awesome way, is using the power of story. And I think another way to really connect, kind of the lessons that you're teaching and helping to shape the character and attitude of your kids is just repetition, right? It's the little sayings that you say over and over again that tend to stick with you. For instance, I remember in my family, my grandpa in particular, who had a certainly huge impression on me, One of the sayings that he was known for was can't, couldn't do it, and could did it all, right? And then another one that stuck with me was if you're bored, it's because you're boring, which I thought was just kind of funny at the time. But I'll tell you, man, there's been numerous times where either I wasn't having, kind of the quality of life that I wanted, or I just wasn't getting the success, and I would think of that saying. And the way I interpret it now is, don't wait for life to give you, what it is that you want. Like, don't wait to be entertained. Be the entertainment that you want. So if I'm not happy with the results I'm getting, focus on an internal locus of control. Focus on what I can do to create that outcome. It's funny how something that at a younger age, my grandpa said that I just thought was, I don't know, kind of humorous in some way, really stuck with me and did help to shape part of my character. I think one of the last suggestions that I'll offer here is just about creating very intentional through the different seasons of your children's development is creating, whether it's vacation opportunities, whether it's, different skills that you specifically teach them to. Like if you want them to learn respect and honor, maybe you're taking them to martial arts classes, things like that, right? But it's very intentional. Hey, I want them to be respectful and to be humble, so I'm going to take them to this type of, kind of learning environment. So it's something that you're doing that is consistent with the values and the attitude that you're hoping to craft and create. So anyways, those are some of the ideas that I have that I think are let me take that out. They are the most important thing that you can teach. Creating kids and creating character and attitude and values, and really being intentional with consistency, authenticity, and promoting that within your kids is not only going to increase the likelihood that you have happy, successful kids. I'm not going to guarantee anything, but it's probably the most important role that I believe we have as parents. So I want to really encourage you to either try out a few of the things that I suggested. If you have questions, or maybe that the stuff I said doesn't apply to your family, or like you've tried it and you need more ideas, I'm happy to help you with that. But I really think this is a valuable lesson or takeaway for parents to really think about and apply. So I wish you all the best and appreciate being able to share this information. This is Dr. Andy with AG Thrive. Wishing you all the best in growing the life, love, family, and success you want and deserve. Thanks.